From Florida's Space Coast, this is Your Career.
Welcome to Your Career. I'm Debbie Featherston, your host, and with me today is Grace Totoro. Grace, thank you for being with me. It is a pleasure. I've been wanting to do a show like this for a long time. Both of us are career experts, and so our topic tonight is really to help our viewers understand how they can define their niche.
Excellent.
Or
Thank
niche,
you.
whichever way you want to pronounce it.
Doesn't matter.
So,
Same thing.
Tell us, first of all, a little bit about your career as a career coach.
Basically, this was a career transition for me. I started out as a human resources professional and went through my own right-sizing in the early, I guess, 90s, and went through a program, and I said, this feels more like it's in line with what I really want to do.
You know, when I use the term niche or niche, you know, what does that really mean to you? How would you define that for our viewers as related to job hunting?
Well, a niche is really your specialty, okay? It narrows your focus. And it really connects you to your target audience, which for job seekers would be their targeted employers.
Right.
It's becoming more and more of a specialist economy. And if you have a niche, you can pretty much market yourself more easily than if you just say, I can do anything.
And that's interesting because there have been periods in different industries, I think about engineering, where you want to be, or even HR, you want to be a generalist and then you need to be a specialist. And so we're returning back to that specialization being important then. Okay.
Absolutely. But the key is you have to know what their needs are. It's like I might want to sell something and I'm passionate about it, and I know my customers will benefit, but if nobody's going to buy it, what's the point?
Yeah. So is there something beyond what we've just discussed that really would help our viewers understand the importance of defining their niche?
Basically, it could be any specialty within your own profession. So, for example, I'm a career coach, okay? When I first started out, I was doing everything in career coaching. I was in career exploration coach, I was a career transitions coach, I was helping people career change, and then I realized I don't really want to do all of that. I don't want to give out assessments. I really like the marketing piece of career coaching.
Okay.
So I really enjoy when somebody comes to me and says, hey Grace, you know, I'm an accountant, but I don't know how to get anybody to listen to me. Then we start talking about the specialties in accounting.
So why is it important today for a job seeker to really define their niche?
It will help them when somebody says, what do you do? And how could I help you to get there? If I said to you, Debbie, I'm a career coach, you may want to help me, but you're saying, gee, you know, I don't really know what specialty she's in.
Right.
But if I say, my specialty is in helping the job seeker, I'm a transitions coach, and I'm going to show a job seeker how to market themselves so that they get a better return.
Right. Yeah.
That's the difference.
Absolutely. Cool. Let's take this a little bit further. You know, you and I are real familiar. The term of objective, positioning statement, niche, all that makes sense to us, but job seekers come in and they go, what are you talking about? Can you please start the conversation and try to help bring some clarity around these three terms?
Sure. The thing that really amazes me the most is that every industry has really changed, but the way people look for a job and hire for a job hasn't really changed in 35 years. So when it did start, the objective was basically your job title. Hey, Grace, I'm an accountant. Figure out where I belong. Then it moved to a positioning statement which says, I'm an accountant. I have all these years experience, and I worked in these industries. Does that help clarify more? And then here's the niche, which says, I'm an accountant, and my excellent accounting skills are going to help you save money and stay out of audits. That's your niche. You're a person that works with the IRS or you work with auditors, and your goal is to keep the company honest.
That's a good example. Can you give, is there a second example that comes to mind? Because what I'm thinking about, anyone that has been looking for a job lately, they may have had a career coach talk about a branding statement. And the niche, to me, is woven into, and it's that critical piece of a branding statement that says, this is what you can expect from me. This is the expertise that I bring and the problem that I can solve for you.
Absolutely. And I can talk about a fundraiser, for example. There's a fundraiser who actually gets into the nuts and bolts of what their donors are really interested in. And the gift of this fundraiser is to really find out what motivates somebody to fundraise. So I could say, I'm a fundraiser, and my expertise will help your organization increase donations by 50% from the year before. That's a niche. It makes a promise, and it tells you what the results will be.
Yeah, it is very close to that branding statement from my vantage point, right?
Yes.
Because it's not only clearly communicating the what I bring, but it's also getting to that message of this is what you can expect from me, right? Like
Absolutely.
You say, that promise.
It's the promise, okay? And some of us will use a formula called the 3 Ps.
Sure. Tell me a little more about that.
Well, the 3 Ps would be the promise, the proof that you can do it, and then the plan.
What are some factors that people really need to consider when they're defining their niche?
Well, they have to do an inventory. They have to do an inventory of their customers to find out what issues are they facing in my area of expertise or my niche, okay? So they need to know the industry, because certain industry issues will affect the companies, and then they have to do an inventory of themselves, what they like doing, what their hard skills are, and what their soft skills are. And then they put it all together, and they think about, what is it that I really enjoy doing?
Yeah.
And what industries would I really enjoy talking about my product to?
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, because it really is a blend of 2 facets here, right? I need to know who I am professionally and what I can bring to the organization, but I also need to be very clear about my target market, who that, what industry, what role, and, what I'm going to bring to that organization. And so it's the blend of those 2 that help to really define and drive the development of the niche.
Well, again, it's your branding statement, and I would also look at the economy, because the economy is going to push businesses to do certain things.
Yeah, yeah.
So when I first started my business, I actually thought about job seekers, individuals, and I actually did a survey for job seekers to find out what are their 3 pain points. Now, I'm not suggesting that job seekers put together surveys, but they can do that in a networking kind of way, just to qualify if what they are going to be selling themselves to do is really going to be bought.
Right. So you're really encouraging them to do their homework.
Research.
Really analyze their market, have a good sense of what's happening in that market, what are the trends, what are some of the issues and concerns, so they can get, when you say to the pain, it helps to reveal the gap.
Absolutely.
That they can fill. Okay. So how does a person go about defining their target audience?
Okay, well, the target audience, first of all, you have to think about yourself. I know I've worked with, and I'm sure you have too, Debbie, individuals who say, I'm an IT person. I can fit in anybody's environment.
Yep.
Maybe the role can, but maybe you can't. So you really need to think about, I'm going to be doing a job every day, okay, for 10 hours or more.
Right.
What industry am I really passionate about? Who could I talk to the most about what I'm doing? I love what I'm doing. Who's really going to get it? So one way to define your niche is by your likes. Look at the economy. Again, healthcare is being affected, insurance companies right now, based on what's going on in the economy. So you want to look at, if I'm a healthcare executive, how will technology affect my business? So I have to look at all the factors that are pushing at my business.
Because the other thing that I think is buried in your answer, and tell me if I heard this right, is that a person really has to identify and understand clearly their passion. So when they're looking at the industry or their target market, one of the things that they really need to evaluate is this an industry that aligns with my passion?
That's number one.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because if you don't like it, it's not the right.
Yeah, if I don't believe in the product, the service, that's not for me.
And some people actually take positions or they take jobs because for need, okay? And or somebody else told them, you're really good at that, why don't you do it? And then they do it for a while and they realize they get burnt out because it's not their passion.
Right.
Like I know you probably live this career. I live
love it.
I'm constantly reading, I'm constantly trying to see how could I better help my my clients, okay? And when I found out where their pain was, because job seekers are my client,
certainly,
I actually put together a system to help them.
A question I often will ask people is, what do you do? What do you find yourself doing when you look up at the clock and you go, oh my gosh, I can't believe so much time has passed? It's probably a reflection of something that they really are passionate about because they get so immersed in it.
Absolutely.
From your perspective as well.
Absolutely. You have to have a career focus.
Yeah.
And sometimes people find their career focus by trying different things, and sometimes they talk to a coach. Who helps them to figure that out.
Kind of crystallize it. I know when I first got started in this industry many years ago, I would have people come to me who had gone through Richard Bowles's book, and in the very back, it had this all these exercises. It was called The Party. But people would go all the way through and very painstakingly complete it, and they'd come in and say, but I really don't know what I want to do. And to your point, sometimes you go through these exercises, you look at it, but you're so close to it, you need somebody who's independent to look at it and help them really think it through. So I think that's a great point that you make.
Right. You need that person to pull it out of you sometimes because it should be your passion, it should be your purpose.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah, it's something that you really love doing. You don't feel like you're not exhausted at the end of the day because you've been dealing with things that you really didn't enjoy.
If you're exhausted because you've just put in a long day of doing what you love, that's a different type of exhaustion.
Oh, and you're still energized, aren't you?
Absolutely. You're still energized and you're still thinking, what can I do tomorrow and make this better?
Right, exactly, exactly. Now, you mentioned a little bit ago about hard skills versus soft skills. What's really the difference? Give the viewers a little bit more detail.
Sure. Hard skills are skills that you learn somewhere. Okay, whether it's in a school or in a technical school or a college or a high school classroom, these skills do not change over time. So for example, a mathematician, the rules of mathematics are never going to change. The way the mathematician gets his answer or her answer may be through a different mechanism. So for example, and I'm going to date myself here, in the 60s, slide rulers were used to compute. Okay, today mathematicians are using computers. So the tools for the profession change, but the rules are always going to be the same. Accounting principles, engineering, they're going to be the same. Okay, soft skills, on the other hand, are skills that you learn across your lifetime, but they will change depending on the environment you're using them. So example is communication skills. I might be able to speak to a technical audience beautifully, but take me out of my technical realm and people won't understand what I'm saying. So that is situational. Those skills are portable, but they will change depending on the environment.
Okay. How is the clarity of niche? How am I going to use that in my job search?
You're going to use it all the time because when somebody asks you, what do you do? You're going to be able to clearly tell them what you do. It's going to be in your literature or your collateral, such as your LinkedIn profile.
Right.
Your auto signature in your emails will have your niche in it. Your resume will have your niche in it. Anytime you speak about yourself, whether it's in writing or verbally, will have your niche.
To me, I think that it sounds like just about every facet of the job search, we're going to be using it, because when I go into an interview and they ask that timeless question, well, tell me about yourself.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly. That's when your headline will come in.
Right.
And that's your promise. Remember, the top part of the resume or the profile is, this is my promise to you. This is what I'm promising I will do for you, and this is how it will help your business. And then the body of the resume is your proof. This is where I've done it. Most recently, this is where I've done it, and this is how it's helped others.
Yeah, yeah. You know, as a career transitions coach, You have indicated that it's really important for people to use their branding statement. What's the value in that? Why do they need it? And I agree with you, but to help our viewers really understand and appreciate, why do we need to build on the definition of our niche into a branding statement?
Well, because again, think of what a branding statement does. It makes you memorable. It makes you stand out, okay? And I've read a lot of marketing books on this.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, you don't want to blend in and do what everybody else is doing. You want to be the one that everybody copies.
Really differentiate yourself.
Absolutely. So right now, the branding statement is needed, because if you look on most people's LinkedIn profiles, they don't have a niche.
And the key, I think, to really get people to sit up and take notice is, we'll do this analogy and tell me if you agree.
Okay.
I take a candy dish. I love M&Ms. So I would just pour those M&Ms and just load that candy dish up. Well, the problem, when you have a lot of them, what happens to the value? It goes down, doesn't it?
Exactly.
So that's what our viewers need to understand. The branding statement will help to differentiate them. So we're not going to look like the M&Ms in the jar. We're going to stand out and look like those specialty M&Ms, right?
And in addition, when you have a branding statement, people can find you as opposed to you chasing them.
Yeah, yeah. Move along, because into that thought, right? Because you're really moving us into that social media where we're talking about the LinkedIn, we're talking about, I don't know, whatever their tools.
Instagram. There's so many different, right?
Some people
Facebook.
even use Facebook, right? So tell me a little bit about, to me, LinkedIn is the more powerful and the meaningful of these tools, because it's a tool that other business people are using. Tell us a little bit about how that's going to be, we're going to incorporate that into the...
Okay, what I teach my clients, and I'm going to tell everybody right now, is the way most people set up their LinkedIn is they put their name, underneath their name, they put their job title, and then LinkedIn takes care of the rest once you fill in the blanks. What I say to my clients is put your name, comma, and then your job title.
Yeah.
And then what you want to do, where your job title used to be under your name, you're going to put that branding statement. So when somebody actually sees your profile, or let's say you blog, or you comment, or you write emails, every time you send something out, that headline will be seen along with you, your picture, your job title. It's right there. And it differentiates you.
Yeah, I really think that that's key. And I've been hearing about this for a couple of years, but I don't see very many people doing it.
And that's good, because right now, if you're doing it, you are really going to stand out.
Yeah, it's an attention-grabbing statement that we're putting there, right? It's content that really is
It's the promise.
eye-catching.
It's the promise. Now, even if people start catching on to this, everybody's promise will be unique to them.
Right.
And that is the key in this market. We know that, okay? With jobs going away, you have to stand out.
Yeah.
So it really doesn't matter if everybody on LinkedIn had a branding statement. They're probably going to be different, because that you're making your promise.
And I think that that's really a key element, because again, this is where I think it goes back to your strength as a coach, is that it's all about the marketing, right?
All about the marketing.
All about the marketing. And tell us a little bit more about some of the language that might need to be incorporated instead of, because here's what I see people doing on LinkedIn, Grace, is I see people going out and just copying and pasting their resume.
Don't do it.
Yeah, why not?
Don't do it. First of all, the resume is slowly going out of style, because let's face it, most readers of profiles, or hiring managers, or I call them potential customers, they're employers, they don't have time. So, and you don't want to give your resume out at the beginning. At least that's my process.
Yeah.
Because I don't know anybody that's hired off a resume or a profile, but I do know a lot of people who are disqualified because they handed in their resume too quickly. So the approach that I recommend, and I know you recommend it too, is that if you attract somebody to your profile, they are going to call you. Maybe it's for curiosity. Maybe they have a job they're thinking about. Maybe they actually have a job that's not advertised. It gives you that personal touch to bring that resume to life. So again, it's a different approach.
Right.
but it's out of the application process.
Right, absolutely. And I think that the key here is helping them to understand, if they've really done their homework and they understand their target market, they know the language that they need to be including, they need the statements that need to be there that align with what they can deliver.
Exactly, because I can tell you from my own personal experience, when I surveyed my marketplace, and they were individuals that are looking for a position, not necessarily because they're unemployed, but they're looking for a position, and I asked them, what are your greatest frustrations?
Yeah.
What would you like to see improve? And the top 3 answers were, I don't get any callbacks, I'm not noticed, my resume, I feel like I have to customize it for every application I put in it. What can I do differently? And that's when I started reading marketing books.
Yeah.
And what I did is I took a corporate marketing strategy and I'm spinning it to job seekers.
Well, that's great, because you know what's interesting is 30-some years ago when I broke into this business, that's what we were doing. You know, company called Just Works out of Indianapolis, Indiana, which no longer is in existence. The product is still, you know, available, but that's what we were doing, was all marketing. Now let's move along, because the niche can also be used in networking, and I want to talk about this a little bit. After 40-some years, networking still remains the single most effective way for people to get a job, right?
Absolutely.
But how do we communicate our niche in this setting?
Well, if you have done your homework up front and you know your target audience, your goal, especially if you're using LinkedIn, which is my preferred method at the moment, you would search for your customers, look for company insiders, and look for ways to connect to them. And I don't mean just sending a general LinkedIn connection, which you still can do.
Yeah.
I mean coming up with a way to have a conversation and build a relationship. Never try to sell yourself.
Absolutely.
Always look to help somebody. Join a group. Participate in a discussion. Ask a question. And then remember, every time you do something, your profile, your hook, your profession shows up.
Yeah.
So it's very important that you don't go out there and say, I'm a career coach. Can I help you find a job? I never do that. What I do is I bond with my job seeker, ask them what they're doing. If they're doing all the right things, I say, great, keep doing it. Okay, and if they're not, I'll say, well, I would recommend you do the following. Give something.
Right.
That makes you memorable. Okay, and comment.
Right, because to me that is a great example of building a relationship.
Relationships are it's really the key.
Yeah.
It's always been the key. Remember that
has.
saying, it's not what you know, it's who you know? Well, it's both.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's both.
It is both. But it really starts, well, I don't know if you can say which is the chicken or the egg.
You probably could, yeah.
I suppose we could argue
yeah,
a
you
little
probably
bit about
could.
that. But you raise a great point there, because it is important for them, the knowledge that they have, right, that they're going to bring. It's knowledge about the industry, it's knowledge about the company, it's knowledge about themselves. All of that they need to have to engage in an effective conversation, which we'll take that at another date and time and talk about the interview process.
Absolutely.
But, you know, it's really important, you're right, that they have to be able to know when and how to communicate effectively in a networking setting, right? To
Absolutely.
really get that message across.
And you don't want to say, hi, you know, I'm selling this, or are you hiring? That's what
Right.
job seekers do many times. They connect to somebody and they say, hey, this is who I am, are you hiring?
Right.
Don't do that.
Right. Tell me, how do they, we've only got a couple minutes left here, but I'm just curious, how will one go about incorporating the niche into the resume? Is it part of the summary statement? What do we do?
Okay, I make it part of the summary statement, and I elaborate more on the niche. Okay, so it's basically what you're saying is that I do this, like I'm a career coach, and I can help you to market your career so that you can find your dream job in a certain salary range in less than 30 days, and this is how I do it.
Yeah.
And this is some of the clients I've worked with. So you're kind of giving you a little story. Okay, and yes, the summary is still important.
Yeah, in the summary, for anyone that doesn't know, you have your contact information, and then the summary replaces the objective statement. It's much more powerful. It's a very brief, concise statement that tells the listener what who you are and what you bring to the table.
Exactly.
Yeah, so really you could, in that first sentence, it sounds like, Grace, integrate the definition of your niche.
You can. You elaborate. Like when I
Yeah.
have my clients do the profile on LinkedIn,
Right.
they do a summary statement which gives a little bit more information on them, about them.
Right, right. Now, in the remaining time that we've got, I'm wondering, are there specific resources that you can think of? Maybe is there a marketing book that they should read? About 10 seconds.
I would read Seth Godin's
Oh, yeah.
Purple Cow.
Right.
I mean, it's an old one, but it's an excellent one. And I would also talk to different people in the professions that you think you want to go into if you're not in it, and look at what's going. Read magazines, trade journals, join LinkedIn groups, ask questions. Again, asking
perfect.
questions and commenting is.
Well, Grace, that's going to have to be the last word on this subject of defining your niche. Grace Totoro, thank you very much for being with me, founder and president of Transitions by Grace.
Yes.
Thank you very much for joining me.
And thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure. On behalf of everyone here on the set and my guest, thank you for watching, and remember, be career happy.
More information about this program is available online at millermediagroup.org.